Lego Star Wars: The Complete Saga. I mean, it's a classic. This game is a classic. Everyone's probably played it, and anyone who knows anything about Lego has definitely played it. It's just that good of a game. And it was also part of my childhood. It was one of my first games along with Lego Batman and Wii Sports. So I decided to start ranking all the bosses in every Lego game. And today I'm going to be ranking every single boss in Complete Saga. Now, I am not counting the first two Lego Star Wars games for two reasons. One, all the levels in them were in Complete Saga. And two, that means I can't count the Zam Wessell boss because the Zam Wessell chase level was not in the first Lego Star Wars. It was exclusive to Complete Saga because of the vehicle physics were introduced in the second one. So, yeah. Starting our list is Zam Wessell. This boss fight is just way too easy. I mean, I know it's kind of a cheap shot. Everyone talks about how stupid this boss is, but it's true. Now, I don't hate the level. I mean, I don't like the stupid power coupling thing where you have to shoot all the turrets, and yeah, those parts are really annoying, but the parts where you're actually chasing Zam Wessell are pretty fun. But the boss fight is just anticlimactic. It's just all you do is shoot at her until she dies. Yeah. That's really the whole boss fight, and it's really underwhelming and just, yeah. And plus, if you get at a right angle, you can take her out immediately. I've seen speedruns where the freaking boss area doesn't even load in completely because she's taken out that quick. So, yeah, this is a problem. So, that's why Zam Wessell is the worst boss in this game. So, yeah, Boba Fett Part 2. So, there are two Boba Fett bosses in the game, and this is the second one. And this one's on the sail barge. Now, these two boss fights are just way too easy. All you do is punch him, and that's it. And this one I put lower because he has less hearts. And this is also where he has the stupid death scene. Well, not death scene anymore, but yeah. And yeah, honestly, I'm glad they didn't make him die there, because I've been saying for years he couldn't have died there, but let's move on. Alright, next is the other Boba Fett boss. Like I said earlier, these bosses are really just the same thing. This one's only ranked higher because it has more hearts, and yeah, that's it. Yeah, these bosses are pretty bad. The only boss fight in A New Hope, and it's not very good. The Imperial Spy is just a weird addition as a boss fight. I mean, he was in the movie for 1 second, and yeah, but honestly, I don't care. I don't care when they add things that are never in the movie, as long as they make sense. Like, having Mullah Ram on a giant Kali statue that's shooting fire is pretty stupid, but adding a boss fight with the Imperial Spy makes sense, and it adds to the game, because Episode 4 had no boss fights. This is the only one, which is pretty stupid, because they should have had a Vader boss fight. But anyways, yeah, it's just, all you do is kill a couple of sand troopers, and then you just shoot at him until he dies. It's kind of easy, but still pretty decent boss, and at least there's a boss fight in Episode 4. So, yeah. Jango Fett 2. Now, this boss is actually pretty cool. It's definitely better than the Boba Fett one. You basically have to deflect bullets at him, or blaster bolts or lasers, whatever the fuck they're called. Anyways, you deflect them at him, and it takes away his health. And yeah, it's not a bad boss. It's pretty fun, you know. He definitely has more health than he should in this scene, because in the original scene he just kind of dies, but, you know, I don't care. It's fun, and it kind of makes up for the fact that there are no arena beasts in this level, which is, I don't know why they didn't add them, but yeah. Anyways, this one's okay. Moving on. So this is a pretty unique boss, but it's a bit too easy when you actually know what you're doing, and it's impossible when you don't know what you're doing. So, yeah. It is a cool idea. You have to basically release Gamorrean guards and let the Rancor eat them, and then you have to blow up these bombs. And then, of course, at the end, you lower the cage on them like in the movie, but I think this boss would have been better without the 3 hearts. This is definitely... The 3 hearts is a problem some LEGO bosses have. Mainly in LEGO Marvel. But, yeah. It doesn't really ruin the boss. It's still a really solid boss, and it's pretty unique, but overall, it's just too short when you know what you're doing, and I wish there was more variety to the attacks. And also, I don't get why the entire party has to be dumped into the Rancor pit. Why not just have Luke and Han do it? Yeah. So, or Luke and the droids, whatever, just, yeah. So I ranked this one higher for a reason. One, this is the actual Jango Fett fight in the movie. Because, well, the other boss, he just kind of died in that scene, but this one, he actually fights Obi-Wan and somehow wins. It shows how skilled he is. But the boss fight itself is just amazing. It's definitely like a great introduction to the episode 2 bosses. Not counting Zam Wessell. Screw that boss. Blech. Anyways, it was a great boss. And I like how Boba Fett is shooting at you in the Slave 1. And you can actually make the Slave 1 shoot a different direction if you use R4 to activate these cannons on the side. I always really like that. I like how you basically fight both of them at the same time. Unlike in Skywalker Saga, where you just don't. That game is just very soulless. But anyways. Overall, this is a pretty fun boss fight. And yeah, I do like the parts you have to shoot the rockets at him, or, well, float the rockets back at him. My only wish is that Obi-Wan didn't have his lightsaber like in the actual scene. Well, he did have the lightsaber, but it got knocked out of his hand immediately. So, that would have been kind of cool, but other than that, it's really cool. Look, I put this boss fight a bit higher than it should have been because it's still a solid boss, but they should have waited a year before releasing the first LEGO Star Wars, because we could have probably gotten a way better Episode 3 campaign. Because Episode 3 is unfortunately the worst episode in this game, because it has just horrible selection of, levels. I mean, the first 3 were good, You got the Battle of Coruscant, you got the Dooku fight, and then General Grievous. Then you had the Battle of Kashyyyk, which lasts way too long, and then you had that stupid Jedi Temple level. And then, of course, has one of the best levels in the game, which is the Mustafar one. But, yeah, they should have waited a year. But that really shows in this boss fight, because it is so inaccurate to the movie, it hurts. Now, they were going to do a wheel bike chase, but they couldn't figure out what Player 2 would do. I know what Player 2 would do. Have it be Commander Cody on a speeder bike. What was so hard about that? And they also didn't bring the wheel bike back for Skywalker Saga, which, there's a lot of problems with Skywalker Saga, okay? Anyways. Yeah. Now, in terms of a boss fight, it's actually a pretty good one. You know, there are some puzzles you have to solve, and it is kind of annoying running back and forth, but overall, it's pretty solid, and I do like the 4 lightsabers add to the challenge, but it's just so inaccurate to the actual movie, and the actual movie version was amazing. Probably one of the best lightsaber fights in the prequels. So, yeah, it's unfortunate, but it's a decent boss for what it is. Alright, time for Count Dooku. Now, Count Dooku is a cool villain. I like Count Dooku, but his boss fights are kind of simple. They're both pretty much the same, but there was a bit more to his other one. So this is the Dooku fight where you kill him. Yeah, anyways. It's not much. You know, you fight him, he shoots Force Lightning, and you have to switch players, and yeah, and then Anakin murders him. Anakin brutally slaughters him in this, like, Palpatine doesn't even convince him, he just goes for it, and Obi-Wan's watching, like, oh yeah, go Anakin! Kill Willy Wonka's father! Yeah. So, yeah, it's kind of weird, but, I mean, it's a fun boss. And I like how the super battle droids show up like in the movie. So, yeah. Alright, so this is the Count Dooku fight from episode 2. And this boss is actually really good. So, the whole level is pretty short, which I'm glad because we get to focus more on the boss fight. And it's pretty fun. You get electrocuted, he throws stuff at you to throw stuff back. And then Yoda comes in and flips around and is just freaking crazy. So, yeah, it's a pretty fun boss fight and definitely a step up from the other Dooku one. You still have to do the Force Lightning stuff, and there aren't really any droids that show up, but it goes the extra mile with the things you have to float back at him and Yoda showing up. So, yeah, it's a overall really good boss fight. So, this is kind of an odd boss fight because of the mechanics, but it makes sense. This is the Darth Vader that Luke fights in the Dagobah cave, but it's like a fake Darth Vader, and he cuts his head off and it shows his face. The boss fight is actually really cool. Darth Vader, he kind of teleports around, and you have to, you know, work with Yoda so you can get up to different platforms and fight him. And then eventually you just have a full-on lightsaber duel with him until you kill him. So, yeah. Pretty solid boss fight, and it's a good introduction to Darth Vader. Even though the introduction should have been with the Ben Kenobi fight, instead of just having it as a Easter egg in free play mode, which was stupid. So, yeah. Darth Maul! Darth Maul. Sorry about that. Anyways. Yeah, the next one's Darth Maul. You should have expected this to be high up. This is the first boss fight in the whole game, and it is a strong impression. I mean, it's amazing. So it does start off pretty generic with a 3-heart boss where you have to float stuff back at Darth Maul. It's weird that the first Lego boss was also the first 3-heart boss, which was a very common trend in a certain game, Lego Marvel. So, yeah. But, after that, you chase them around the level, which I always like bosses where you have to chase them around, and then eventually you get an epic climax with them. I always thought those were cool. But this one was definitely the start of that trend, at least from what I know. So, yeah. You chase them around. You know, you fight some battle droids, you do the door thing, and you can even pull off a glitch where you can fight him inside that door hallway, which is interesting. And, of course, the actual boss. It's really fun, and it's pretty challenging, and, of course, there's the parts where you float stuff back at him, which are interesting, but they're pretty fun. I also like how the camera view changes if you fall down the pit, which is kind of cool. And, yeah, it's pretty fun. I really like this boss fight. And it's definitely a strong first impression for LEGO bosses. So, yeah. Emperor Sheeving Cream Palpatini Tortellini. Yeah, I don't know either. Anyways, this one goes high up just for the sheer amount of hearts. He has 2 rows of hearts. This is the only LEGO boss that has 2 rows of hearts. It's insane. Now, the actual boss is actually really cool. There's a lot of puzzles. You get that Dooku mechanic with the lightning, and it's also cool that you play as Luke and Vader to fight him. The Royal Guards are a pain, but, I mean, yeah, at least I get to do something instead of standing around like in the movie. So, yeah. And, of course, the ending cutscene actually takes itself seriously, and it was actually pretty sad. So, yeah, something that LEGO games just aren't allowed to do anymore. They can't capture serious moments without throwing in a joke. Like in Force Awakens, where they had the Royal Guards crying, which was just... stop. Yeah. So, great boss fight, and they butchered it in other games. This boss fight is just legendary. Just for the really unique mechanic it has, and just, it's amazing. Obi-Wan versus Anakin. So instead of having the second player be a droid, like they usually do, they have the second player be Anakin. You and whoever's playing with you have to basically face your way through Mustafar, and at the end try to kill each other. That's right. You get to fight each other. It is just, it's great. It captures that feeling in the movie where there's 2 friends fighting each other perfectly. Now, unfortunately, I didn't get to experience this when I played this game with my dad when I was little, because this level was a pain in the ass, especially the opening. Ugh. But nowadays, I'm really good at the level, but yeah, I just wish I was better at it back then. And you can also create your own boss fights in this level, which is pretty fun. I actually did make my own Palpatine boss fight with Mace Windu because the game forgot to do that. Skywalker Saga also forgot that. They made a cutscene. I know I'm shitting on Skywalker Saga, but it really was kind of a disgrace. Anyways. Yeah, this game just nailed this level. Unlike Skywalker Saga, where they made you play as droids as the second player instead of having you 2 battle it out. Ugh. I know this may not be what you were expecting as the final entry on this list, but I mean, it deserves it. Darth Vader on Cloud City is just amazing. That's because you fight multiple stages of him. First, you fight him in the carbon freeze chamber. Then you fight him in that weird room with the elevator. Then you fight him at the window. And then, of course, you get the famous I am your father scene. And because they can't talk, they told it in a pretty funny way by having him show a picture of Anakin and Padme, which was kind of funny. So, yeah. Overall, this level is amazing, and the boss fight is even more amazing. So, yeah. Well, that's it for this video. I'm going to continue this as a series, so my next video will be on the Indiana Jones bosses, so stay tuned for that. Make sure to like and subscribe, and I will see you boyos in the good of that.